fine. We'll figure it out.
It'll be all right.
I just refuse to let you have the recording permission. Hungover. Ugh.
Same here, buddy.
Damn, just a couple comics. Hungover. Late nights.
Yeah. I'm sorry I didn't show up last night, Kenyon. Like I said, I was watching Space Odyssey.
Guys have sex.
With my girlfriend.
Yes,
I wish I was watching Guys Have Sex.
All
All right, everybody. No, I'll get into it. I'll get into it in a second because we're back with another episode of Fuck You, Dad. Today we have another very funny guest from Raleigh, North Carolina, one of the boys and co-hosts of the Conspiracy Beerme Podcast. It's Sam Mazany. Sam, what's up, man?
Hey, I'm in New York now, bitch. Don't.
Oh, sorry. I
Yeah,
forgot that's a huge credit. That's a big deal.
It's
that
very
you have to
important
mention.
that people think that I'm not in Raleigh.
Yeah. People realize that you're past that stage in
that
life.
I'm doing stand up for real.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, you
everybody
have your-
that lives there. You guys are all gonna make it.
Me and Kenyon have both been asked though, here in Chicago, if we count when they ask us how long we've been doing comedy, and we're like, 4 or 5 years, and then I've been asked, do you count the time that you did in North Carolina as if like it's just like time in Narnia or whatever, in a different dimension.
You should just go next time you see them do a set. You're like, have you started counting the time that you're doing comedy yet? Because I don't think you are doing comedy yet.
Yeah.
We're all at the same open mic. I mean, technically,
it's like, you're on a big dick just because it's like, yeah, well, that was a city that didn't matter. Now I'm in another city that doesn't matter.
Well, it's that, and you could just go, well, I mean, it's worse for you if I don't count that time because I've been here for like 2 months and we're doing the same shit.
Yeah.
So I think you should assume that I count that time because then at least we'll be on equal footing. Says like it's like the guy that's been in Chicago for 5 years. Like you fucking count that time. It's never people good. Was it ever anybody that was good?
No,
of course not.
Like terrible people that are just sort of like your whole thing is you're just there. You have
that's your one.
You're just around. You've gotten drunk with people for like 10 years. That's like your whole thing.
If your credit is time elapsed in an area, it's disastrous.
Exactly.
You are also just so angry. You're just like that is just like, well, yeah, I mean, I put in 6 years here. So, I mean, that's probably, what is that, like 15 years in Raleigh time? And you're like, you have nothing. You have nothing. You
like,
worm.
That's legitimately like somebody sitting at a slot machine being like, listen, I've sat here for 5 hours. It's going to pay out.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
That's the biggest metaphor for stand-up I can think of. It's just a
it
guy
really
at a slot
is.
machine like, oh, it's going to come through this time. I mean,
and then somebody just hot walks in and sits down and like, oh, I found a quarter on the ground and put it in. And it's like, ding, 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 ding. Meanwhile, you're just pissing in a bag. You shit your pants. Your like eyes are bloodshot. You're like, oh man, I was thinking about switching to that machine. Fuck, it's probably too late. It's not gonna do 2 wins in a row. Oh. And somebody comes over. Here's another drink, and you're like, I guess I'll stay.
Yeah, that's every single show. Every single hot show you do is you just want a little bit to stay at the casino. That's really.
Comedy's cruel in that you just when you're like, I've had enough, you have a good set, and then you're like, all right.
Every single time, man, I'm like in the gutter, like this is a stupid way to live my life. And then I, have one good set, and then the one new line I thought of really hit. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm a fucking here we go.
Yeah. I was put on this planet to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an injustice if I don't. I mean,
I don't want to jinx myself, but I've like recently got to a spot. I've gotten to a spot where like I'm gonna jinx myself. I haven't like bombed in a really long time. Like in like I feel like the floor of how bad I can get has raised.
I understand that.
So like I feel like I've had some bad sets that I'm like that kind of sucked, and I'll listen back to it, and you're like, but yeah, you're going through material, you're getting laughs at like the main points. The main stuff along the way isn't getting the laughs it normally would get, but you're still like, if you, from the audience perspective, you were just like fine.
Yeah, you
But
you didn't ruin the show. It wasn't soul crushingly bad.
Right, where it used to be like that, where like if I
Yeah.
miss like two jokes in a row, like when I was like 2 years in or 3 years in, the set is over. Doesn't matter how much time. It does not matter how much time I have left. If I missed, I would just be so rattled. I'd be like, I fucking suck. I just,
Yeah,
like, I don't even
absolutely.
want to talk to these people anymore. I'm like looking
Yeah,
at the
me too.
ground, just
Yeah, that's the worst. Just the death spiral. You're just like just saying words fast to get out of there.
which is funny because a lot of times, you just get like the perspective where you go, you immediately jump to the worst conclusion of what they think about you, where really in reality they're just like, well, those two jokes he started with weren't really for me, or like I was looking at my phone, or something weird happened in the room. But then you just personalize it so much, you go, well, they hate me and they'll never like anything I'm gonna say. I'm fucked, and you're just like, ah.
Yeah. No one in the crowd is like, yeah, your dad was right about you. Like,
right,
right. Intense, intimate, hatred of you. They're just sort of like, they really like that one.
Well, they like, unless they want you to win. Certain rooms they kind of don't want you to win, but
but
for
there
the
are
most
some
part
rooms.
most parts they want you to win, and in the rooms where they don't want you to win, they just want you to try hard to break them out of that. They still secretly inside of this shell of not wanting you to win, they want you to overcome that, and they do. Or
they want you to talk about how you're not winning.
Yeah,
and kind of try to get your way out of there.
What I'm saying is, anytime I'm on a black show is what I'm talking about. They want you to come out and they go, yes, yes, yes.
You just gotta, yeah. Some rooms, if you're not doing crowd work, they just will not accept anything you're about to say.
Which is so funny because that was so not emphasized in North Carolina.
Crowd work.
That was such a big thing up here that I had.
I think that's because the helium is the main sort of,
and they don't want you to do that at all.
They don't have you do that. So same here, like the hosts, if any comedy club, they start with crowd work here. But if the helium, you don't. So if the big opportunities that you're doing, you don't do crowd work, pretty much you never do crowd work. Even though you're in front of people all the time, we should be doing crowd work, like using that. But
I noticed, because the only crowd work that we would do in North Carolina is when people were way too hammered at a bar. So when I moved,
you do like crowd control at that point.
Exactly.
But that's the only experience I had.
So when I moved here, it took time to be like, okay, crowd work isn't always like, because people would be like,
shut up, you stupid
I'd be like,
bitch.
Exactly. I'd be like, wait, I'd be in 10th gear already. I'd be you should shut the fuck up at a comedy show. How about that? And they're like, it's my birthday.
Yeah.
Like I was always on 10th gear. So it took me a while to like realize like, it's like more relaxed. Like it's a thing that even some comedy club managers like expect you to do lots of. So
it's so easy to crush. You go, hey, what shirt is that from the gay store? And everybody's like, this guy's the best. yes. And you're like, and then you try to do your joke that you crafted, and then like it kind of doesn't go great. And you're like, oh, that guy looks fucking ugly as hell. And they're like, this guy's so fucking good. Why does he do that again? And you're like, dude, comedy's easy. What am I doing?
It really is, though. It really is everything.
This guy just took a shit. They're like, he did. He fucking shit. Yeah.
It's
and you're like,
if somebody comes out of the bathroom and you him with a "How was your shit?" I mean, that's just
the show's over, dude. They're like,
it
doesn't get funnier than this. Like, who's gonna come out and say something funnier than accusing somebody of taking a shit? There's nobody. They're like, stop the show. Let's start filling the people in for the next one, because these guys they hit the peak. Let's go to the bar and celebrate this comedic achievement.
It's truly an art. It's truly an art.
Yeah, then the thing you worked on.
Don't you remember the first time you were at a comedy show and saw a guy do the, hey, did this guy shit? Like, I lost it. I remember.
I've never actually seen that.
You really haven't? It's such a. I feel like I've
seen
seen it so many times.
I've never seen it.
Somebody like just shuffling back in.
Fucking dumb, honestly.
Somebody shuffling back into their seat. Oh, it's like you're almost guaranteed. There's like a 50-50 shot. The person on stage goes, "Whoa, the guy just took a shit," and everybody's like,
"Yeah." Because it's such a freebie.
Are you allowed to do other people's crowd work?
Yeah, I think so.
Crowd work, I feel like, is a communal thing. It's like take a penny, leave a penny.
It's not a very specific line. Like if the take a shit line, I don't think anyone gets to say that they wrote that. I don't think anybody gets to
exactly.
I mean, how many times have you seen are you guys on a date and then like blink if you're okay or some shit?
Yeah.
I
Like
feel like
that-
it's
that
almost
one-
it's almost in the realm, because crowd work is conversation. It's almost in the realm of like cliched jokes you say when someone's like, "How are you doing?" You're like, "Weekend wasn't long enough." Like,
right.
it's almost the same thing.
But that's what's always weird to me about like people that like fawn over that, because you go, well, this guy's just like a Rolodex of things that people say already. That's why you're like, wow,
Can
he's
you
such a great
imagine if
crowd
someone
work.
said that to you, like someone reviewed your stand-up, and they're like, "He's just a Rolodex of things people say already." Jump
But I
off
mean,
a bridge.
but am I wrong that that's just like
No, that's
basically good crowd
absolute-
work is just like this guy is like has indexed every possible thing that's been said since the 80s to somebody in a crowd, and then just is able to pull it fast. And
I don't know. Sometimes
which is still a skill.
Sometimes it's very unique, funny.
Unless it's
right?
higher level, like Rory Scovel, I would argue is like higher level stuff, because he goes into he'll take one comment and go for 8, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, those like quick ones, like there's only so much you could say
But
to
that
when somebody is wearing a wacky sweater.
right.
You know?
Just like just like the amount of time you just see somebody crushing, just like ragging on some like, what is this guy fucking dressed up like Jersey Shore or some shit? Oh, it's me, Snooki. You gonna fuck Snooki tonight? And then people are like, he's look at him mentioning things that I know, and you're like, "Ah." And then you go up, you're like, hey, here's a bit that I've crafted for 3.5 years, and they're like, this sucks.
I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear this fucking story about how you beat up your cousin or whatever in elementary school.
This stinks. And then I get back to commenting on this guy's stupid shirt.
You got a poopy butthole, man.
Comedy sucks. We should quit, dude. What about that?
What are we doing?
I'm just kidding. I love it.
Okay,
so
Sam.
What do you want to know? I'm sorry. I turned your podcast.
Okay.
That's a comedy podcast into stand-up.
Yeah, we're trying to stay away from just stand-up.
We're trying to stay away from we're not famous, nobody cares. So just we gotta be fun. No one cares about the in and outs of performing at a pizza restaurant. All right.
It's true. It does stink
enough to be like, oh, yeah, you didn't do crowd work in North Carolina. That's interesting. They're like, get with the jokes. I'm on my way to work. All right.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Did you? But you grew up in Raleigh. Were you like Were you like always the class clown kind of kid, or were you like a troublesome munchkin?
I was, dude. I was a demon in high school. I don't know.
In high school.
Yeah,
That's bad.
I was a demon, like in class. I was deeply depressed.
Right.
So I was like scathingly mean, but it was funny. But like just not to the person that was like, you just like nuclear strike someone from across the room. Like people, like there were kids that were like bigger than me and could beat me up that were just like afraid because I would just say something just.
Oh, that's good that you made them afraid.
Tactical nuke. But no, but you feel bad about like as an adult. You go,
that's how I was like in high school. I couldn't fight, but I would just talk a level of shit that was like so like it was funny, but so aggressive. That it like turn people off. They're like, oh, you can't talk to me.
Because like he's like maybe you'll like break his nose, but before you break his nose, he's gonna say a thing that everybody in the school will never forget, and they'll always remember when they look at my face. You're like, so is it worth it? And you're like, that's right. I hold all the power. I mean, I was like, it was bad. I'm trying to think of like a good example of so I ruthlessly. See, this is so unflattering, but I will tell you, I ruthlessly tortured our theater arts teacher because he was just like
the teachers deserve it. I feel
dude,
like
but
sometimes.
it was like to a point where it was because I mean I think if you're like a class clown or just like a dipshit in class, you can kind of clock when somebody's weak. Essentially, it's so sociopathic.
Yeah, but you sound scary.
I
clocked when he was. I sensed that he was. I thought about becoming a teacher at one point in my life. This is why I would never.
This was not going through my head actively as a kid. This is from going back and like talking about it in therapy because I feel bad about it. And like you just like, and you're like trying to unpack. You're like, how did I get to this? And you're like, probably you noticed that he was like there was a power vacuum and you needed the attention, so you seized on it. And you're like, well, that's kind of psychotic, but I guess that's true.
Yeah, that sounds like pre-human era stuff. Like you had bigger bone and other monkey had smaller bone, so you beat monkey. You beat monkey and demand other monkey pound their chest at you.
I mean, I was just like,
what it is.
It was just insane. Like it was just the antics level were too high in that. So it was a technical theater class. One thing that I really like to do is I'd like to. So he's just like this impotent, like just man who.
Well, he's a theater teacher,
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like just like straight out of Central Casting, like impotent white guy theater teacher who just is like just so soft and such a bitch. And there was an assignment where we had to do something on laptops, and my friend had found his dating profile, our teacher's dating profile.
No.
This is so fucked up. So I took his profile picture and I tiled it as my background.
Okay.
And then I called him over, like, hey, can you help me with something? And he came over and he's like, what's this? And I go, oh, nothing. No, don't. I just admire you so much. And you just like could tell that like two worlds collided that weren't supposed to. And he didn't. He's like, they found. He's like, well, maybe you don't look at that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. It was just on the regular internet.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. It like that. I feel deeply bad about that.
Well,
it's like,
I have no idea how I'd respond to that. It's like, what do I just leave the room?
Well, it's like this is demonic.
Well, no, it's kind of like when my mom left, like she just left some weed on the coffee table and didn't say anything. But it was just like, you know, she is putting it there to let me know that she knows.
Yeah.
And then just kind of to fuck with me in that like weird middle space.
All right. I'll tell you one funny one, and I'll tell you the worst one that is like irredeemable, and it makes it is like in like the top 5 of like things that I think is like evil that I've done, and it makes me sad. But it is kind of funny though. So there was we did tech theater, so there's tech theater class where you like do all the lighting and shit. And I would just go in the booth when he was like setting up for the play. He would like be like walking around the stage, and like I'd go into the spotlight booth and I would just turn the spotlight on, and I would just spotlight onto his penis, like his crotch. And he's like, who's up there? Who's up there? Stop it. And I would just like kind of shoot him in the face with it. And he's like, Sam, I know it's you. You got to get that over there. And just everybody in the class just dying laughing. I'm just like just like pinpoint on his penis.
Are you just Cartman? You're just Cartman from South Park.
It was pretty bad. Okay, so that one is funny, haha antics.
Yeah.
But then this is like, I'm not proud of this at all.
Would you torture somebody?
No.
You did that 5 times, you're like, it's demonic. I was like,
well, it was just because it didn't have any it was humorless. It was just mean. It was just like,
yeah, that is least as funny because you're
like, it's
look,
like,
this man has a penis and it should be eliminated.
Like we said earlier, traditional comedy stuff.
Really right. You just exactly. Yeah. Also, I was a teenager, but also I failed the 11th grade 4 times, so I was 21. I'm just kidding.
yeah. You're like drinking beer and then
he's like the laser guy.
Like, how is he allowed in the class? So you're like, technically, you're allowed to stay enrolled until you're 21 in North Carolina. So I'm gonna get my education. And they're like, Jesus Christ.
Love me, kids. Love me. You're calling everybody else kids.
Yeah, I'm like, aren't I the coolest kid in class? And they're like,
it's a grown man.
Fuck. So this it might be it's the problem is just it's not that funny. So like the play's coming up and he's like obviously really stressed out about the play, and he like leaves his like lunch out on the stage, and it's just this banana. And I just like stomped it out. So I just stomped it out. See, this is me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So then but here's the sociopathic shit. There was this one kid in the class who was like the teacher's pet, and he was like constantly waging war against me on behalf of the teacher. Naturally. Probably right. He had a conscience.
Yeah.
You're like, it's just one narc, and I'm like, just sounds like a good guy.
It was probably the whole class. It was just one kid had balls to like try to stand up to you.
You're probably right. I mean, yeah, it's horrible. So the teacher comes back in and he goes, who did this? Who this is my lunch. He's just like sad. You're like, and then like, even at the time I was like,
not even mad. Just
and even in my head, I'm like, this isn't good. Like you just like, there's a part he goes like, what is this? Even the shitty teenager, this is, what was the bit?
When there's no laugh and the guy's just sad, you're like, oh no, this.
Well, you don't get you feel like you felt something kind of break a little bit in him, and you're like, this isn't fun. You like because you want to see him get angry. You don't want to see him go.
Exactly.
Oh, that was my lunch. Oh my god, that was.
One good thing in my life is
I was
fucking
looking.
banana.
I was gonna eat that banana today, and I just fucking can't deal with this. Start sobbing. So the kid who I'll call him Brian. Brian, the other kid, goes, Sam did it, and I go, actually,
No,
Brian did it, right, guys? And everybody in the class is like, just put in this like, they go, yeah, it was Brian.
Wow. Oh, I was wrong.
Yeah.
And then the guy who actually liked him.
I took him out, dude.
And did the teacher believe that?
And then the teacher goes, well, Brian, I guess you should clean that up. And then Brian's like, he's like, clean it up with a broom. And here's the sick shit. I said, Brian, boy, he looked at me. I took a picture on my phone.
See, I haven't matured at all because that's still
But
really.
that's insane.
That is.
No,
that's
I'm gonna be honest. You've always made me kind of you scare me a little bit. Sam.
That's right.
There's some darkness in you.
No,
I don't
dude.
see a lot of empathy in you.
Dude,
like
dude.
I would have been that kid. I'm Brian.
No,
Even
but
though I like to shit talk and be roasting mean, like you're scared.
You're reacting properly. Because
Yeah.
that moment has like haunted me. I've like talked to so much, like I've spent so much time in therapy talking about that. I'm like, what is that? And your therapist is like, look, you were a kid, like you gotta like cut yourself some slack. I'm like, yeah, but that's in there somewhere. That guy.
Like you said somewhere, I feel like I've seen it poke out in the years.
I'm like,
I don't think it's deep enough.
I'm like, that's fucked.
I think there's a picture of there was one time in the green room of Goodnights that I was so nervous for this Sunday show that I sweat through my pants. And there's a picture of my ass that exists that I believe it was you that took a picture, and you can just see it looks like I shit myself.
I never disseminated it. It was never spread.
No, you never posted it or anything.
Yeah, I mean,
like how Sam's like, I'm reformed. I don't post it anymore.
But you wanted it as a trophy. You wanted people's humiliation. Yeah, you wanted the trophy of it.
You know what it is? If we want, so we can pivot into family stuff.
Yeah.
My mom, when my little brother would cry, I should not be airing this, but when my little brother would cry, she would take pictures of him, and there's like all these weird pictures of him.
Wait,
crying.
why?
Because my parents are fucked.
I really love like there's no explanation. You're like, they're fucking insane.
Dude, that's nuts, right?
Okay, well you make more sense in that context.
Right.
You got the stomping on the banana, but like you're crying, you like, I don't know, you break your ankle or something, you're crying, and your mom's just like, let's take a little photo for the document.
It's not like it wouldn't be like physical pain.
Cried today,
It wouldn't be physical pain, it'd be like emotion, which is almost worse. Like you're like sad about something, or like we would get into a fight, and my younger brother would be crying, and she would just like there's just picture albums that like randomly interspersed with pictures are just like one of us sobbing.
We've heard some crazy stuff on the show.
That's fucked up, right?
That's one of the
really
I have
weird.
Goosebumps right now.
Yeah, that's fucked up. It's fucked up.
That feels haunting. Like if you hadn't been home in a while, you go home and you're like, oh, there's some good times, and you see a random photo of you crying, and then your brother crying, and you're like, why would anyone laminate that?
But it's so weird. The thing about that shit is that like you grow up in it, you don't realize that it's weird or fucked up.
Yeah.
And you'll countless times happens to me where I'll just casually be like, yeah, I'll be telling a story not about that, and then like a detail like that will come up, and people will just get hung up. They're like, wait, what?
Yeah, no.
You have to be like,
that's how you realize, yeah.
So you go, wait, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You're like,
There's an awakening moment when you come from a crazy family where they're like, wait, holy shit, everybody doesn't happen to like you don't have the crying photo album? Like you're like, fuck. It's
weird. It's like you get pulled out of the Matrix. They like pull a thing out of your head, and you're like, oh, your parents don't do that. They're like, no.
They're supposed to love you.
Yeah.
It's like.
So I guess that picture thing isn't that weird. I mean, it's weird, but it makes sense.
Pretty weird.
It makes your response to it. That is the bookend of the SVU episode that is your life. Like it all ties together.
Well,
would it be regular if it was better at Law and Order? If I just picked
regular? Can it be criminal intent, please?
Criminal Minds.
So I'm not doing sex crimes.
Yeah, you're right.
I shoved the banana up that kid's ass, and I took a picture of it.
Take a picture of it.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Well, Sam, I think that is half an hour. I think we did it.
Did we
If you
really
wanna-
do a half hour on me just being a psycho?
I think that that was
God
great.
damn.
That was good. We touched on family stuff at the end, but
Okay.
I mean, I think you came off as endearing. I mean,
No, I don't.
I-
I'm not gonna sit here
honestly-
and lie to them.
your attitude about it now is refreshing, at least.
I thought there was going to be more time to build a character arc through this. And we only hit an inciting incident where you're like, I really hope he changes. And then that's just never coming in this.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, come visit Chicago. We'll have you in at the Lincoln Lodge.
Yeah,
We'll do
Ooh.
part 2. We'll do part 2.
Live app. We'll get into
About-
the crying album's just the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, we
A
didn't
little
talk about my
teaser
family
for
at
how
all.
crazy your family is.
It's really, but that's bananas. All right.
But
This is fun.
your podcast, Conspiracy Beerme,
Yes.
and your show at the stand, the sauce. Is it the sauce?
Yeah, I mean, just better off like following the Conspiracy Beerme page or following me on Instagram, and you
Okay.
can find like. But yeah, if you happen to, I don't know where your listenership's like, but yeah, if you live in New York, I live here now, so follow me there, and I can. There'd be tons of shows. My comedy is not nearly as sociopathic as
It's actually very goofy. It's really funny.
It's very goofy.
Jumping up bananas. I'm like, yeah, he jokes about Waffle House and stuff.
Yeah, he's very goofy, and you're like, I'm sadistic.
Yeah.
All right, Sam.
We're all
Well,
growing.
Thanks again for being on, man. It was a
Yeah, man.
blast.
That was
good
fun.
to see you, man.